Welcome, member. You've been granted rare access to a sealed case, a case buried by the church, locked away beneath crumbling stone and whispered about by only the oldest clergy. This is the story of Saint Elora's home for the forsaken, where 5 children vanished and only 1 came back. But she doesn't remember who she is. Not yet. File number 731B. Evelyn Hale, unresolved, undischarged. Listen closely. The silence will tell you everything. Silence is never truly empty. It's a container. And St. Elora's was full. 5 names. Missing. The assignment was simple. Digitize the orphanage's handwritten files before they were destroyed. Evelyn, a trauma psychologist between research jobs, saw it as a quiet escape. A month alone, sorting dusty boxes in a forgotten place. On her first day, she found the files in the basement, beneath a faded crucifix and a leaking pipe. Each child's folder was wrapped in yellowed twine, labeled with names like Catherine Whitmore, Elias Keane, Josephine Dunn. But 5 folders had no names, only case numbers. Inside, blank sheets, old drawings, red wax seals, no intake form, no discharge form. Sister Agnes and the black thread. On the second week, Evelyn received a visitor. An old nun, veiled in grey, stood by the front gate. She introduced herself as Sister Agnes, the last living caretaker of St. Elora's. She spoke slowly, every sentence measured as if weighed against confession. You won't find the truth in the folders. The real stories were never written. Evelyn asked about the missing children. Agnes hesitated, then whispered. They weren't taken. They were surrendered. She told Evelyn of the black thread, a punishment used only in whispers, where misbehaving children were locked in the East Wing room, left alone overnight. But when morning came, some never opened the door again. Agnes handed Evelyn a single key, small, cold, brass. You'll find the East Wing file doesn't exist, but the room does. She turned Thomas Abernathy without was never discharged. That night, Evelyn searched for the East Wing file. She found instead a note wedged behind a cabinet drawer, written in spidery cursive, Thomas Abernathy, admitted January 1953, never discharged. No folder, no records, no exit form. She searched every cabinet, every drawer, nothing, until she heard it. A dragging sound upstairs, shh, thunk, shh, thunk, like someone limping across the hallway. Then a soft knock. 3 taps. Always 3. She rushed up the stairs, empty hallway, but under the old nursery door, something had been slid to her, a child's drawing. Stick figures, a boy, a nun, a locked door, and below it scribbled, He watches through the hole. Evelyn turned the drawing over. On the back was written in the same childish hand, I'm not Thomas. The door in the East Wing. Just his Evelyn waited until morning before unlocking the East Wing. The brass key Sister Agnes had given her slid in with a reluctant groan. The hallway beyond hadn't been touched in years. The wallpaper curled like skin peeling from bone, and the air carried the scent of old prayers and mildew. There were no doors, not at first, just an arched corridor, a row of broken windows, and the sound of her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. Halfway down the corridor, she saw it, a single door, painted black. No handle, only a keyhole. Above it, in faded letters carved into the wood. Be still. Evelyn hesitated. Her hand trembled as she placed the key into the lock. It clicked once. Then something clicked back. From inside, the door creaked open half an inch. She leaned in, flashlight raised. There was no room beyond, only stairs, sessions, and silence leading down. For 2 nights, Evelyn didn't return to the door. Instead, she immersed herself in the surviving patient records. Each file held traces of something she couldn't quite name. Drawings of mouths stitched shut, recurring nightmares of the Watcher, a black-robed figure children claimed stood at their door every night, silent and motionless. Many children reported hearing voices from the walls. Some described whispers saying, "Lie still, the silence will carry you." And then there were the therapy transcripts from Father Mercier, the orphanage's psychologist priest. "The boy Thomas is increasingly delusional," one entry read. "Claims he has no shadow, insists his reflection doesn't obey, recommending extended confinement and prayer." Another page, dated a week later. "Thomas refuses food, says the man in the crack. Told him the bread was ash, begging to be placed in the thread room, repeating phrase, 'I need to go back where I belong.'" Then, suddenly, the entries stopped. No follow-up, no discharge note, just an abrupt end. Evelyn looked again. The Whisper Archive, February 17th. On the third night, Evelyn couldn't sleep. The East Wing key called to her. She lit a lantern, grabbed her recorder, and returned to the black door. The staircase beyond seemed longer than before. Every step felt deeper than the last. As she descended, the walls grew narrower, the air thinned, and then the stairs simply ended. She stepped into a circular stone chamber. In the center stood a wooden archivist's desk, still intact, and behind it rows of sealed drawers, labeled not by names but by emotions: wrath, silence, obedience, unwanted. Evelyn opened the drawer marked silence. Inside, a single wax cylinder. A playback machine sat beside it, dusty but functional. She wound the handle and placed the needle. The room filled with a child's voice. "I lied. I said I hated her. I didn't. But the man in the wall said if I didn't, she'd never stop screaming." I closed my eyes. Then the door opened. The thread pulled me in, and I stopped being real. Static followed. Then a second voice. Familiar, older, weary. Sister Agnes. He kept returning, Evelyn. No matter how many times we prayed, we burned his clothes, we sealed the room. But the door never forgot him. Evelyn staggered back. Her hands trembled. The silence of the archive pressed against her eardrums. She could hear something moving inside the drawers, scratching, breathing, waiting. She turned to leave and saw something written above the stairs. "If you hear your name in the silence, don't answer." And faintly behind her, what the church whispered again. The next morning, Evelyn contacted the Archdiocese office that had contracted her. She asked one question. "Was there ever a boy named Thomas Abernathy on record at St. Elora's?" After a long pause, the woman on the line replied, "I'm sorry, but that file is sealed under Clerical Immunity Code 731-B. Evelyn asked what that meant. The woman cleared her throat and lowered her voice. "That code's only used for spiritual anomalies." Then she hung up. Evelyn sat frozen. Her laptop screen displayed the scanned documents she had digitized so far. Except now, 5 of them were gone. In their place, blank images, static, and one line of text repeating across each. "Don't open the door again." She tried to shut down the computer. It wouldn't turn off. The screen flickered. A new image loaded. A black and white photo. Grainy, low contrast. It showed Evelyn herself standing in the East Wing stairwell. Behind her, a figure with no face and no shadow, or dreaming, or remembering. She couldn't tell anymore. In the middle of the night, she found herself sitting at the archivist's desk, the one deep beneath the orphanage. But this time, the drawers were open, all of them, and each one held a piece of her life. Her thesis on childhood trauma, her hospital records as a child, a note from a foster home she didn't recall ever living in, then a folder labeled Hale, Evelyn, Dobb Unknown. She opened it. Inside, a photo of a girl, age 7, pale, wide-eyed, same name, same face. A report attached. Subject admitted under emergency concealment after incident in thread room. Disassociation complete. Reassigned memory. Recommend erasure of witness. Evelyn dropped the file. She wasn't the archivist. She was the last child, the final experiment, the only one who had come back. The final entry. The room. When the contractors arrived to demolish St. Elora's 2 weeks later, they found the front gate ajar. The lights inside were still on, though no power had been connected since 1984. The archivist's room had collapsed. No trace of files, no drawers, only a single wooden chair in the center, and a recording device. Still playing. The voice was faint, looping, brittle. "My name is Evelyn Hale. I was never discharged. I was never discharged. I was never." And somewhere beneath the ruin, in that final whisper of silence, if you listened closely, you could hear the sound of 3 knocks. If you made it to the end, you're already part of the silence. Subscribe to the Storyteller's Curse to unlock the next file, before the door closes again. New horror stories every week, found, whispered, and archived. Just for members. Until then, stay quiet. They listen through the walls.